Education for All, America's Schools, by Jeanne Baca Shulte. Author foreword. What is your school day like? Do you have many teachers, lots of books, and computer labs? Do you have different classes such as art, music, and gym? Does a bus pick you up, or do you ride your bike to school? If you could travel back in time 50 or even 100 years, you would see how far education has advanced. What would your grandparents say about schools during their childhoods? My grandmother told me she walked 5 miles one way in the snow and rain with holes in her shoes just to get to school. Sounds like she was exaggerating? Maybe a little. The distance was closer to 8 miles, and most days she went to school barefoot. But her mother sent her to school every day. Even that long ago, my great-grandparents knew the value of education. My father's school experience was later, but it did not seem much different. Imagine it's 1941. America is finally getting back on track from the Great Depression. Jobs are still not easy to find. Money is tight. Now you are 6 years old and ready to start first grade. How exciting! But then, think about this. You have 12 brothers and sisters, and you speak only Czech. That was a problem. In a crowded school, there was no time for the teacher to focus on children who could not keep up. So children who did not speak English sat in back of the class year after year. By 8th grade, my father had learned English very well. He graduated and took a job delivering milk. Later, he joined the Army. He was certainly smart enough to go on to high school or college, but as an immigrant from a poor family, the opportunity was not available. He had to support the family financially. What is the lesson to be learned? Education equals freedom. The more you learn, the more opportunities you have in life, and freedom is worth fighting for. Chapter 1. Early Settlers. When families left England to settle in the 13 colonies in the early 1600s, the first order of business was not education, it was survival. Where would they live? How would they earn money? Could they make it in the strange new land? Many families were willing to take the chance. They sold their possessions and packed up a few necessities. Then they embarked on the biggest journey of their lives. England encouraged settlement in the colonies. The promise of free land drew groups of people to settle in areas where they could live their lives freely and practice their own religion. But life for the early settlers was far from easy. Families struggled to produce food. It was difficult to communicate with the natives, and disease took its toll, too. So for a number of years after the settlers arrived, education took a back seat to these more pressing needs. The unique colonies. As the population grew, the British colonies developed into 3 unique areas. They became known as the New England colonies, the Middle colonies, and the Southern colonies. New England colonies. In states like Massachusetts and New Hampshire, the weather is very cold in the winter. The growing season is short. The land is rocky and not easily farmed. Many families in the New England colonies had to live close to town. People needed services and products. This created a growing need for tradesmen in all areas. Tradesmen worked as blacksmiths and weavers, cabinet makers and tanners, and every type of job in between. Work was not hard to find if you had a useful skill. The New England colonies had the greatest number of settlers and the most schools. As early as 1633, the Dutch had opened the first free school in America. Free did not mean free for everyone, though. Only the children of members of the Dutch Reformed Church could attend. Then the New England Puritans opened their own school in 1635. This was the first Boston Latin grammar school. Boys from 9 to 12 years old studied Latin, Greek, and English. They studied basics, such as religion and arithmetic, too. After grammar school, the boys went on to Harvard College. In these early years, only 1 of every 10 children went to school at all. Leaders began to realize that all children needed a basic education. Then they could be good citizens and follow the laws. In 1642,
Sample complete. Ready to continue?